If I could go back and fix just a few things on our first shed to tiny home build, I would have saved myself time, money, and a whole lot of frustration. These weren't tiny mistakes either. These were the kind that show up months, sometimes years down the road. So today, I want to share 3 of my biggest regrets from our first shed build so that you don't repeat the same headaches that I did. Stick with me. This will save you more than any tool in your toolbox. Hey y'all, I'm Kevin and this is Ask Pawpaw. If you're new here, just so you know who you're listening to, I built our own 16 by 52 shed to home conversion completely by myself. And right now I'm building a 16 by 32 tiny home from scratch for my daughter and grandson, one paycheck at a time. So when I talk about regrets, I'm not speaking from theory. I actually lived these mistakes. I paid for them and I want you to skip every bit of that pain. Now listen, this video isn't here to scare you away from building a shed home. Not at all. I love tiny living and I love what shed homes make possible for everyday folks like us. This video is about building smarter because when you're new to all this, like we were, you simply don't know what you don't know. And if someone had sat me down and told me these things, I'd have avoided some long-term problems. All right, let's get into it. So regret number 1 is my biggest regret and could be the most expensive regret in the long run, and that is letting the shed movers decide the foundation. When we first bought our shed, we didn't know any better. The movers came out, they unloaded it, and we just let them put the block piers wherever they thought they should go. I figured that they had done it 1,000 times, right? Well, that decision right there came back to bite us. Because later on, once I had more experience, I realized there weren't enough piers. I mean, these piers should be at least every 8 foot. These here I put in myself, some of these that were never put in. They didn't do a very good job of leveling and they didn't put in near enough piers. So now I'm tasked with coming back and redoing, hey Olive, and redoing these. The spacing wasn't correct for the load, and the kicker to all that is several of the piers weren't even touching the runners. So we got some spots where they're not even touching, and then we've got spots like this one here where they just didn't level it up good, the ground below it. They just kind of threw the blocks on there and called it good. But as you can see, almost half the block's not even touching the ground. So all of that needs to be redone. And this center part, they didn't even put one in. There's nothing. There's no pier between this one and the one way on the other side. So those 2 middle runners aren't even supported at all in this 8-foot span. Then as you go forward, it just gets worse and worse. And some of those aren't even touching at all. Just imagine that you've got a whole home sitting on blocks that aren't even doing anything. And because of that, the shed settled. It went unlevel. Doors got sticky, floors fell off, little things started to shift that shouldn't have been shifting at all. And the worst part, this isn't something you fix in an hour. To correct it, I've got to go back one day, jack the whole shed up, and move piers, re-level everything, and basically redo what should have been done right the first time. And because I knew I'd eventually have to fix the foundation, I didn't want to invest in proper underpinning, which brings me straight to regret number 2, not insulating or properly underpinning the building. Now let me say this up front. In my climate, I actually prefer not having fiberglass insulation under my floor. Our area stays dry and I can inspect the underside of the shed anytime I want. And if I could have afforded closed cell spray foam, sure, that might have been a great option. But fiberglass underneath a shed in my climate would be a moisture trap. It would be a rodent heaven and just not a good idea at all. So what I should have done and what I still plan to do is add insulated underpinning all the way around the base. But here's the thing, I couldn't do that because the foundation wasn't right. I knew I'd eventually have to crawl back under there, lift this building, and re-level it. So to get by temporarily, we stapled up heavy plastic sheeting around the whole bottom. It isn't pretty, not at all, but it keeps the wind out and it keeps the drafts down, and honestly it helps with the floor temperature more than you'd think. But as a long-term solution, no sir. Proper underpinning would have kept out the cold, heat, critters, moisture, and a lot of wasted AC and heating. But we skipped it or delayed it because of regret number 1. It's funny how regrets stack on top of each other when you're building slow and learning as you go. So regret number 3 is the low bathroom ceiling. Now, this regret, this one was avoidable, and I'll own it. We lowered the bathroom ceiling so that it would match the loft space and so that we could have extra storage above the bathroom. But by doing that, what we did was trap warm, wet air from the shower in a tiny little space with nowhere to go. And that created one of the worst combinations that you can have in a small bathroom. Heat and steam and a low ceiling equals condensation, which equals mold. Even though I installed the most powerful bathroom vent that I could find, we still found ourselves scrubbing this ceiling way too often, wiping it down, repainting, repeating the cycle, and all because we didn't leave enough height for the moisture to rise and disperse. A tiny home bathroom needs airflow. It needs ventilation and a ceiling high enough to let humidity get out. And I know what you're thinking. It's dangerous to be breathing and it's horrible to look at. But I also wanted to let it go for a little while. It's past due time for us to do our normal cleaning of it and repainting it. But I wanted you to be able to actually see what happens when you have condensation in a bathroom on a wood painted surface. And I wanted to show it to you up close so you can see it and understand that I make mistakes too. And you'll notice that it's mostly just right over the shower. So this is a horrible problem that I have to fix, but it is one of my biggest regrets was putting this ceiling as low as I did. Even though I have a pretty good fan that vents straight out, it just builds up the condensation. And then between the 4 of us living here at the moment, there's a lot of condensation in this bathroom. So my future plans is to fix that. And how am I going to fix that? I'm going to fix that by remodeling the bathroom. And that's what we're waiting on. We decided that we're going to change out this shower to have a shower bath combination here. So the grandbabies will be able to take a bath. And so I'm just waiting on the chance to completely remodel this bathroom. And at that point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the walls all the way up to meet the ceiling, because these ceilings are 9.5 foot tall, and that'll give us a lot more room for the ventilation and for that moisture to escape out that vent. I'm gonna still keep the ventilation fan in there, and it's still gonna hopefully serve a purpose. I may add a second one. Unfortunately, we'll be losing our storage area. We keep a lot of extra totes and storage up there. But I'll probably just, when I do that, I'll probably add insulation to our attic space and create a conditioned attic space and a storage area up there. That's the goal anyway. Now, just so you know that I've made plenty of mistakes and I'm still learning daily, here's a couple of bonus regrets that I won't go too deep into, but they're worth mentioning. Cheap vinyl flooring. Instead of going with a more expensive but much better quality vinyl plank flooring, I chose the absolute cheapest that I could get by with. It looked great at first, but it didn't hold up to temperature swings and it didn't hold up to moisture, and it started peeling and lifting way too quickly. And in some part because of the poor leveling job on the foundation and the settling, it has begun to crack and break. So when I thought I was saving money by going with the cheapest flooring, I was actually doubling my expenses, because now I have to go back, buy it all over again, and this time you can bet that I'll be splurging on the good stuff. The floor started peeling, cracking, got some spacing in here. Some of that is to do with the leveling, but a lot of it's to do with just how cheap this flooring is, and it just started splintering on us. And good old duct tape is the temporary fix until we can redo the whole floor. But the duct tape, in the meantime, keeps anybody from getting a plastic splinter in their toe. Another regret that I have is not finishing the trim before moving in. Because once you move into a project, you slow way down. Life takes over, and that trim has sat unfinished longer than I want to admit. You can look and notice it up here. You can see it. No trim, no trim. Missing my trim. Oh, looky here. Another spot, missing my trim. I did get my door trim put in going into the bathroom, but uh-oh. Looky here. No trim. Look around this window sill. Oh no, there's not even any casing on this window. We were in a hurry to get into the building. Kept saying I was going to do it. Life gets in the way. And next thing you know, it's 3 or 4 years later, you still haven't finished your trim. So do your trim before you move in. That way you know it's done. Here's the honest truth. These regrets, they taught me more than any YouTube video ever could. They taught me patience. They taught me humility. And they taught me to slow down and do things right the first time. They taught me how important a good foundation really is, in construction and in life, honestly. And every single mistake made me a better builder. Because when you're building a shed to home, you're not just building walls and floors. You're building confidence. You're building options for your family, and you're building a future that you didn't think was possible. So if you're thinking about building your own shed to home, learn from mine. Fix the foundation, underpin it correctly. Give your bathroom room to breathe and use your mistakes to make your build stronger. But don't think it was all bad, because it wasn't. We actually did some things exactly right, and those choices made our shed home one of the best financial decisions that we've ever made. Now, if you want the full picture, I'm also making a video about the things that we actually got right. The decisions that made our home more comfortable. They also made it more affordable and a whole lot easier to live in. If that video is already out, you'll see it linked here on the screen. If not, it's coming soon. And don't miss it, okay? Hit like, drop a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.